And also new tonight, we're taking a closer look at storms and your insurance bill. 2025 was the first time in a decade a hurricane did not make landfall in the U.S. But even so, it was one of the costliest years on record thanks to storms. Check this out. There were a record-setting 21 thunderstorms with tornadoes, hail, and damaging winds that each caused $1 billion in damages. And even if they didn't hit your home, you're probably feeling the effects. So we have the University of Iowa's Professor Martin Grace, a national expert on risk management and insuring against natural disasters, joining us now. Professor Martin, thank you so much for being here with us. And I want to start off with what made 2025 so destructive?
Well, thanks for inviting me, Shelby. It's funny. This year wasn't actually that destructive. I mean, the 21 storms that you talked about were terrible storms. They were destructive, but the total amount of damages is about 115 billion. And it used to be that was a lot of money. It's not anymore. But we think of that $1 billion as something, it's a large event. And if we look at our storms, which I want to get back to in just a second, that $115 billion was half storms and half the California wildfire. So we had a wildfire which was a little bit man-made, a little bit caused by dry conditions, but the fire department wasn't ready for it, and there was just some problems. So if we take that one off the table, last year looks pretty good because we didn't have a hurricane, and so the 21 storms, which were significant, weren't that abnormal if you look over the last 10 years. But what's happening is that, and we started noticing this not too long ago, is that these storms, which were relatively infrequent in the 80s, are now becoming, on a yearly basis, almost as bad as a bad hurricane. So if we think of $65 billion hurricane, that's a terrible hurricane. But when we think about it in terms of storms all throughout the country, it's not so bad because it's $1 billion here and $1 billion there. And pretty soon it adds up to something, but it's spread out and we just don't notice it the same way we do a Katrina or, a Helene or something like that.
Well, I want to talk about these windstorms. I mean, you said we had a year without a hurricane, but are windstorms getting almost as bad when it comes to the damage they leave behind?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, windstorms are like, I think it was in 2017, somebody noticed that all of the tornadoes, the hail, and the strong windstorms, they added up to a severe hurricane. And he said, that's never happened before. And what we've seen is that since 2017, every year we've had a number of large, spread out, but large storms. And I think this is part and parcel of whatever weather season we're in, over multiple decades, we're in a peak thunderstorm, tornado, hailstorm environment.
So what does this mean for insurance coverage? I mean, we're seeing policies and coverage prices go up across the country. Why is it impacting people who might not be living in places where these storms are hitting?
Well, the big thing about insurance prices, I really think in the last almost 7 or 8 years, is really inflation. So if you look at Iowa, for example, the average home price has gone up about 55 to 60% since 2019. Well, as a result, home values going up, insurance coverage has to go up. The price of insurance goes up too. In addition, because of inflation, replacement costs, like the labor that's required to rebuild your home or repair it, and the materials, they're just more expensive than they were 5 or 6 years ago. But the most recent rate requests by Iowa insurers are very helpful because they're asking for very low amounts of money compared to 10-15%. Now they're either zero or very close to less than inflation right now. So most of that price increase, I think, is over, hopefully.
So what can people do to make their homes more resilient as these storms become, more frequent?
So that's a very good question, and there are a number of different things that can be done. The big thing is your roof, and most people don't think about their roof until there's a leak or something like that. But being proactive about, and this is like nobody wants to talk about the roof, but this is the source of where damage can occur to your house. The roof either comes off or it leaks. And to be prepared to replace and repair your roof, that's probably one of the most important things you can do. And there's another group out there that it's called the Fortified Home Project. And what they've done is they've developed relatively inexpensive but scientifically provable ways of repairing your roof and tying it to your house so it stays on more securely in the event of a windstorm. And Alabama has adopted this. Florida is thinking about adopting this. It's kind of like, I don't want to call it a building code, but it's kind of like a building code. Insurers in Alabama and in Florida are considering giving people price reductions for if they engage in having a reconstruction or a remodeling where they use this fortified home program.
Interesting. Professor Martin, thank you so much for your time and your expertise today. I really appreciate this.
Well, thank you for having me on.
And hey, if you guys at home want to share this story, our online version is up at WQAD.com underneath the As Seen on TV tab.